As a sci-fi lover, especially with cyberpunk elements, I always say that Japanese animation is the best one to explore these elements with extreme vision and depth, having many out-of-the-box stories with incredible visual elements and with deep messages that forces the viewers to reflect. But when you have a much more simple story, basically exploring the adventure genre, animes can be pretty awesome as well. And this is the example of Metal Skin Panic Madox 01 that if you haven't watched so far, now is the time. Metal Skin Panic Madox 01, I know it's a big name. It's an OVA, original video animation released in 1987, directed by Shinji Aramaki. He's the director of another great anime series called Appleseed Ex Machina. He also directed another great adventure anime called Megazone 23. So this is a guy who loves robots and cyberpunk elements. And Metal Skin Panic tells the simple story of a war machine called Madox 01, which is a huge mechanical armor filled with gadgets and guns, built to fight and destroy other war machines. Right in the beginning of the anime, you see the mechanical parts of Madox 01 working, and this is all shown through frames with the whole intricate system being displayed, which is just freaking awesome. And after a battle test where Madox 1 destroys many war tanks, the lieutenant who was responsible for the whole demonstration, Lieutenant Kilgore, gets very pissed and promised to have revenge against the armor. Exactly, against the armor and not the female pilot inside it, that is Ellie Kuzumoto, who is not only the machine pilot but also the developer of its inner software. And during a transport operation where the Madox 1 is being taken to another military base, an accident happens and the machine gets lost in the middle of the highway. Then it ends up being taken into the workshop of a mechanic called Koji, who is a young guy graduated in engineering, and it's very sad because his girlfriend called Shiori is gonna move to England in 3 days to study in a university there. And this is where the simple story that I mentioned starts, because when the boy starts to play with the Madox 1, the whole armor closes around him, trapping him inside the cockpit as a pilot. And this is where we have what I believe it is basically a superhero movie structure. The boy receives this superpowered machine, almost like a boy receiving his superpowers. Then he starts testing all the powers of this machine, causing many accidents and destruction all around, which is part of the comedy and fun of the anime. He goes through many confusing and bizarre situations, but the most fun is that the main goal of this character during the whole plot is to meet his girlfriend, which he set a date on the top of a building. But since he is trapped inside this huge technological armor, he has to go after her, dressing it. Of course that during the way he is gonna end up meeting the army who is after the Madox 1, then face another armor that is the Madox 0, a previous version of the Madox 1 that is being piloted by Ellie, the developer of the machines. And in the end he has to face Lieutenant Kilgore, who is piloting another technological war tank to go after him. Of course he is taking advantage of the fact that the army is after the Madox 1, to get his own revenge against the armor. And then we have great action with many explosions, shots, big machines and armors facing each other, in an animation that lasts nothing less than 40 minutes only. What a wonder. And I say that it follows this basic superhero plot because this is what it is. An unexpected kid finds the armor, dresses the armor, causes many problems during the way, until he dominates the powers, then starts to use these powers to his own advantage, in a scene that he destroys the roof of a car from some bullies that were bullying him. Then he has to escape from some enemies, that is the army. Then he has to face another first big enemy, that is the other armor piloted by Ellie. In the middle of the battle, when she discovers who is inside the armor, they become kinda friends. And then we have the final enemy that comes with his own big technology that has to be faced by the hero, ending in a big explosive climax in a big skyscraper of the city. It's 40 minutes of pure perfection. And all this adventure features these whole cyberpunk elements, especially because of the robotic armors. Of course, this element is not featured heavily here because when we think about cyberpunk, we imagine a much more futuristic scenario, for example. And here these armors represent this futuristic visual with many interesting details and very intricate technology, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, which is a scene that already made me in love right away, and the battle scenes that feature many different advantages in each armor, from their primary weapons until other parts of the armor that unfold to form other guns, and of course their flight systems that make them even more super-heroic in that sense. And all of this contributes to make the experience of this anime, even though simplistic, very cyberpunk as well, in my opinion. So much so that you can see future inspirations in Hollywood movies. A very clear example of that is District 9, directed by Neil Blomkamp, who has a very similar armor in its final act to the one here in Madox 1. And another example of that is the movie Chappie, that also has a big war tank at the end of it, which can fly and is piloted by a crazy war guy played by Hugh Jackman in that movie. Which causes me great suspicions that many inspirations from that movie were taken directly from this movie here, especially the Lieutenant Kilgore, who is such a caricature character, just like Hugh Jackman in that story, that he ends up verbalizing his love for war in some delicious, absurd and cliché lines. But anyway, of course this anime has some little problems as well. For example, some plot elements feel like a little throw into the story without making too much sense. For example, the exact reason why the convoy that was transporting the Madox 1 crashed on the road, not mentioning that such an important machine for the army not having a tracking device is very hard to swallow, especially with its own creator Ellie saying that she left the machine working or functioning during the crash. There's also the fact that Koji wants to get rid of the machine during the first acts of the plot, but when he is in the middle of the battle against the army and the other Madox piloted by Ellie, he doesn't seem to make too much effort to explain the situation and avoid more conflict. But these are just some hiccups or nitpicks that you can easily ignore to enjoy the anime. What really matters is this great adventure with very well choreographed fights between machines, and with great visuals, especially in the final battle that takes place inside a skyscraper, with a huge structure covered by glass all around, showing the beautiful bright landscape of the city during the conflict. And for me, this is pure epic visual, not mentioning that the building is very well used in its geography, especially the verticality, in a battle that ends in a way that I will not mention, but the defeat of the villain Kilgore is fantastic. And this is it. Madox 1 is a very simple anime, no deep messages, but pure fun adventure that if you want to spend 40 minutes of your day having fun with a great Japanese animation, there you go. By the way, the whole anime can be easily found on YouTube if you want to watch it right now. And this is it for now. One more suggestion of anime if you like this kind of content here in the channel. And if you want more suggestions for the future, please don't forget to leave your most beloved like and your most welcomed subscription so we can keep trashing together forever. Alright? See you in the next trashy video, and bye bye.